You know.
Well, hopefully everybody's fine. Because I know,
Yes.
we the next day I don't remember we drove to Alex and there was that the electricity of fixing the
Oh yes,
electrical
on
wires
Garth Road.
were down.
Yeah,
on
they're
Garth
fixing
Road,
some
so-
power lines. I know some trees fell. I had seen it. Luckily, not around our neighborhood, but it was pretty
Yeah.
big. I mean, that was about the biggest storm I think we've had in a couple years.
Yeah,
at least
yeah,
to my
that was-
recollection.
Yeah, that felt a lot like a what's it called?
Microburst, yeah.
Because the wind was just whipping down.
Yeah.
You know, those trees were just, the branches were cracking down, you know?
Yeah.
And you could just feel
Well,
it.
yeah, there was like a moment, like I said, there was like something I realized. I mean, our porch had tons of water in there.
Yeah.
And usually the wind kind of, even though thunderstorms either blows one way or the other, but this was like, I mean, it was kind of like I was sitting in the porch and suddenly I was getting splashed with water and then it was gone. Then I was getting splashed with water.
Yeah.
It was literally circling.
Yeah.
It was pretty intense.
Yeah.
You know, it's exciting. It's like, I'm not gonna lie. So this is kind of fun because you're seeing all the lightning and then you're like, wow, this is cool. But then the flip side, you're also like, this is also not great.
It's good when it
because-
happens, but it doesn't really happen right smack on top of you. You know?
Yeah.
It just feels when it's not smack on
Yeah,
top of you.
yeah. It's
that's
like if
when-
it's happened over your neighbor's house, it's like, oh, this is cool. Let me watch it. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Today Mañana. I'm Michael. This is Xavier. We're happy to have you on this beautiful summer day. So kind of get cozy, grab your iced cafe con leche. I think that today's an iced cafe con leche day, and, enjoy some Today Mañana. Pops, I'm happy to have you here with me.
Well, I'm delighted that you can host the show today.
Oh, yeah? Why, you don't like hosting the show?
No, I like,
no.
yeah, I
Yeah,
like
you
second
like
fiddle.
fiddle.
I like second fiddle.
I know,
much
me
more.
too, but when Alex is here, we can't both be
That's
second
right.
fiddle, right?
Exactly.
We're both on the same side.
Side by side. Nobody over there.
One over there.
That
exactly.
wouldn't look so good.
No, it wouldn't look so good. But as always, we're happy to be presented by Emergent Financial Services and sponsored by our wonderful partners, Matthias Sion from Matthias Sion Realty, Craddock Serious Insurance, Charlottesville Opera. Speaking of Charlottesville Opera, they actually have the two events are getting very close.
Yeah, no,
I think they already have tickets
they're
on
here
sale.
in June, right?
So June
they got a number
have
of things going
the
on.
Music Man,
Okay.
which is, I wrote down the dates because I knew I won't remember if I did.
Well,
June
right.
21st, 22nd, 23rd at the Paramount. And then in July, they have the opera, The Elixir of Love, which is July 12th and 14th at the Paramount.
That's a great
So-
name, Elixir of Love. I mean, you just got to go see that just for the
Yeah,
name. Right?
I don't know, I can't remember the name of the composer. Nick would probably know.
Oh,
But
he's going to yell at you
yeah,
for not
I
knowing
know.
that.
I know. But that's okay. I got the date, so people can go online, check them out, and kind of start getting their tickets because it's exciting. I mean, we had I think it was Caroline come on the show with us, and they kind of went over the play and kind of like the themes of kind of like because both kind of involved like con men, so there was kind of like that theme, kind of going on. I don't know whether there was supposed to be like a reasoning behind that, but it was sort of like that was kind of like the common theme behind the two,
Yeah,
the
I mean-
musical and the opera. So
Yeah, I mean, without any doubt, that the Music Man is a great,
Yeah.
musical, and the Elixir of Love is I mean, this is of course just a personal opinion, and so it's not a traditional opera in the way I look at opera, only because operas are always like there's always something going on that at the end it's not a happy ending, so I'm used to those.
Yeah.
But it's it's also a great piece.
Yeah.
So I think people will enjoy both.
That's good. Have you ever seen The Music Man, out of curiosity?
Well, I've seen it when I was much younger on television.
Oh, you saw like the movie you're saying?
A movie, yes.
Oh, okay.
I've never seen it on Broadway.
You've
or
never
anything
seen
like
it,
that.
Broadway. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, see, now you got your chance, Pops.
Exactly.
You got your
Absolutely.
chance. Also, another quick update too. I think I don't know if you saw UVA baseball is actually hosting a regional.
Yeah, this weekend.
This
right?
weekend, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know who's playing and all that. I just saw that they were hosting a
Yeah,
regional.
on Saturday, I think it is, right?
Isn't it this weekend? Or Friday, Saturday, and Sunday?
Oh, it's all three.
I think
okay.
is it all three?
Is that how
I
it
don't
works?
know.
Okay. Is this is this already for like the region, or what is this for the NCAA?
Be honest, I'm not 100% sure. That's Alex's department. He's got to call in and answer that question.
So we got Nick's department was.
Well, because I only I only briefly saw it this morning because
Yeah.
it was like for different reasons, but I briefly saw and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
look, they're hosting regional. Alex had been talking about that he was hoping that they would host, and
Yeah.
and we are. I just don't know the context of what it means in regard to the college baseball, World Series and
Yeah.
all that, So.
Well, hopefully we do well. I mean,
Yeah,
whatever-
keep our
whatever it
fingers
is.
crossed. We
Yeah.
didn't have such a great ACC tournament, but we've been worried about the pitching, and that's kind of what happened. The pitching just
Oh,
hit a
really?
snag.
Okay.
Well, we lost 12-7 to Florida State, so we scored 7 runs, which usually should be good enough to win a game. But you give up 12, that is a lot.
that's
that's
tough.
that's
That's a
a
lot of
pretty
runs.
pretty big mountain to climb.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah,
don't
it
think
really
that's so the pitchers got to do better. But if we can keep hitting, we got a chance. So.
We'll keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah, keep our fingers crossed. Well, I don't know about you. I'm ready to go to our first guest.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Because
Yeah?
I mean, she's sitting here and
I know
all
she's
excited.
just to
She's
talk
ready
about baseball
Yeah,
and
that-
storms. She's like, "Come on, let's get going."
Let's get to ballet.
All right. So we are very happy to be welcomed to welcome Veronica Pillar to the show. Thank you, Veronica, for joining us.
Good
Thank
morning.
you so much for having me. It's
No.
great to be here
It's
with
a
you.
pleasure.
It's
a
our pleasure. It's our pleasure. So please tell us a little bit about yourself, and for our viewers who kind of don't know about the Albemarle Ballet Theater, kind of give them like a run through of kind of what you guys do and what you're about.
Sure. Well, I come from a family of dancers. My sister and I were both professional dancers, and my mother and her sister were both professional dancers. And my mother started Albemarle Ballet Theater, excuse me, in 2004. And I had recently left an apprenticeship where I was dancing for Charleston Ballet Theater. And I came back to the Crozet area to help her open the ballet studio. And her mission has always been to provide really top quality, excellent dance training to everyone who wants to dance, and to offer it at as affordable of a cost as we can. We partner with a local nonprofit Studio for the Performing Arts, and we're able to offer scholarships for dancers both through our studio and throughout the community to be able to take classes there. Another one of our big focuses is really quality programming in performances. We love putting on full-scale productions as opposed to recitals. So we do 2 large performances a year.
Oh, wow.
We have our annual performance of the Nutcracker in December, and then we have a gala every May that we perform at PVCC. And it's usually mixed repertoire. We bring in local choreographers. We like to partner with people to highlight other artists in the community and to highlight our dancers. And so performances are a large part of what we do at ABT.
Okay, and you mentioned classes. So kind of what classes do you kind of provide for prospective dancers, and kind of like what's the age range that you kind of take in people, if like parents are kind of looking to bring their kids?
Sure. Well, we have classes for children starting at age 2 all the way through adults. As long as you want to move, you can come and take classes. So we have creative movement classes for our littlest ones, exploring ballet for kids as they get a little bit older. And we offer a recreational track of training. We also, as our students advance into the upper levels, we offer a pre-professional level of training. We teach classical ballet, point, modern dance, jazz, and tap.
Oh, wow.
So I'm curious about something because I remember I don't know who I was chatting with, and maybe this is chatting with your sister, but I historically ballet dancers, because of how they have to stand, their damage to their toes or whatever can be extensive over time, right? Is there a new way of teaching ballet without necessarily having that, or is ballet? I mean,
That is a great question, Xavier. So one of our primary focuses at ABT is training the whole dancer, physically and emotionally, and we really focus on timing when it comes to putting dancers on point, and then being very intelligent and cautious with how we allow them to move forward with that. We offer a lot of injury prevention clinics, additional strength and cross training for dancers, and we partner with a local dance medicine specialist at ACAC who has worked wonders with our dancers, both in educating them and also in helping them to overcome injuries. But injury prevention is a huge part of what we teach.
yeah.
I actually have a question to kind of back off Xavier. So sometimes this kind of starting with the sports analogy, like people, as kids get older, right, there's been lately the past like 10 years, there's been a focus of, if I want my child to play baseball, for example, I'll only have him play baseball. But there's a lot of experts kind of come in saying, well, it's actually sometimes better if they play multiple sports because their body is kind of used to different movements and it prevents injuries. Is that something that you see with ballet, that if you kind of like, someone's like, well, my child wants to learn ballet, but you're also like, it's also good actually if they learn other dancing as well, instead of just singularly focus on ballet to kind of maybe move their body in different ways. Have you seen that or heard about that, and does that kind of relate?
Absolutely, both in my personal career and other peers and colleagues that I know, and in dance medicine, we're seeing more of an emphasis on training the whole body as a system and not just focusing on keeping on that one track with ballet. It's really important also, I think, for anybody that is pursuing anything at a higher level to stay well-rounded. And so we love that our dancers pursue soccer, gymnastics. Many of them take music classes, which goes hand in hand with dance.
Sure.
And so we do encourage that.
Okay.
I was curious, just considering you were a professional ballet dancer, is there an age where in ballet itself, there's a, let's say, from X age to this age is where they peak, and then thereafter, it's best to just not continue, or in ballet does it matter whether they're 30s and 40s?
So many things have changed in the dance world, even since my career ended. I think in the last 20 years, what we've seen are really huge advances made in dance medicine and kind of in the overall perception of dance and physical bodies on stage. For previous generations, there was a very strict physical aesthetic that dancers were pushed to adhere to,
right.
And that has dramatically changed.
Okay.
And I think that has also diminished the number of injuries that we see in dancers of all ages, but it's also really helped dancers to prolong their careers into their 30s and 40s and sometimes even their 50s.
Wow.
So if you're, and I think also it matters like who you're working with. If you have a great, Pilates instructor or dance medicine specialist that you're working with, they can kind of be your team to keep your body on track. But I can tell you from my career that when I hit 30, my body definitely felt different than when I was 20 or 25. And I could feel the injuries that I had sustained over my career. I could feel them a little bit more.
Right. Yeah, I wonder, because I grew up, my parents, worked in the ballet and opera fields, right? So I used to go see a lot of ballet when I was, a kid and so in New York. And I used to watch these dancers, and they were all awesome. Unbelievable, the things they did. I used to look at their feet and say, how did they even stand up? It's like, I couldn't believe it. But then I realized that, most of them were on their younger side. But there was one, and I can't remember her name, there was one famous Cuban ballet dancer that she came to New York at 40 years old, and that was supposed to be old, and she did, like a bunch of pirouettes and stuff like that, and everybody was like up in arms how she could still do that. So I was just wondering whether, because of, whether it's just age catches up, or whether in today's world, whether, the way people are taught in medicine, people can dance longer.
Well, that's a really big, we place an emphasis on quality training so that whether the dancers who come through ABT go, just do it recreationally or do take it to college or to a professional level, that their bodies don't, sustain any injuries that are going to change their quality of life or harm them. We really want to maintain a holistic track for our dancers so that they can live their best life. And if they want to continue dancing, great. Or if they just want to wear shoes comfortably when they're my age and not feel arthritis, that, that's a perk too.
That's important. Yeah, very important.
I was going to quickly mention, you also, you mentioned a nonprofit too at some point. Was it the Studio for the Performing Arts? Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. So we partner with the Studio for the Performing Arts. We have since we opened. And they umbrella all of our community programming, all of our outreach performances, and all of the clinics that we offer for the community. So this year we've actually restructured our nonprofit. We've hired a new executive director, and we're taking more of our programming into the community. We're expanding into Augusta and Nelson counties.
Oh, wow.
And we're offering classes that we're partnering with Title I schools for programming for the elderly. we're bringing more of our small performances into the community. We do a performance series called Step Into the Story, and they are small 30-minute performances that are truncated versions of our larger performances for younger children. They're sensory friendly, and the dancers go and meet and greet and mingle with the children. And we also do some education about the performance and classical music. We're also going to be doing injury prevention clinics, a clinic on nutrition that will be done in a series. And we do clinics on everything from upcycling and thrifting clothing and turning them into costumes to stage makeup and stage hair. So we'll really be expanding that programming throughout the next year.
Wow, that's a pretty encompassing program. I mean,
really is.
even
Wow.
with the costume thing, that's kind of like abuelito and abuelita,
exactly.
our
Yeah,
grandparents, my grandparents, his parents' kind of department a bit.
Yeah, I remember that. that. So I know you mentioned, I guess, so the Nutcracker. Is that something that you do every single year?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And
So
the
we
beautiful
perform.
thing, the beautiful thing, I guess, about the Nutcracker is you get the youngsters in there also, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, from the littlest ones all the way up through our advanced dancers, and they're so cute.
Yeah,
oh
they
my
are.
goodness.
Yeah.
So we do a Nutcracker every December. We perform at Waynesboro High School at their theater there, and we're looking forward to bringing it to the community again this year.
No, that'd be great.
Yeah.
That'd be great. And how about the other one? The one that you said, was it in May?
Yes, so we do a spring gala annually in May. We actually didn't do one this year. It was the first time in 18 years we haven't done one. We needed to scale up our infrastructure. We actually just hired a bunch of new teachers, and we just needed more teaching base to be able to continue to offer things at that scale. But we do a lot of original works. So last year we did our largest original work we've ever done. It was a ballet called Once Upon a Time that I had been the wheels had been turning with the idea for this ballet for a number of years, and we had 85 local dancers in it. It was a huge 2-act ballet, and we're really excited about bringing more programming like that to Charlottesville and the surrounding areas.
Who gets to choose the ballet?
I do.
You're talking to the boss who chooses.
No, absolutely. That's great.
I do, yes. It's my favorite part of the job is choosing the programming.
And so you're able to use some of the, I guess some of the people are taking classes, et cetera, and then obviously you also get some professional dancers. Is that
So
how it
no,
works?
actually
No.
that's one thing that makes us really unique. We don't hire professional dancers for any of the lead roles in our ballets. All of our dancers at ABT, all of the students are performing all of the parts.
Wow.
And so that's a really exciting part of each show is that we get to work with each dancer one-on-one to help them rise to the occasion of these larger roles and really carry the show. And it's incredible to see them all grow and really blossom into the next phase of their training and artistry.
Yeah, that's a pretty big step
Yeah.
to perform in front of a lot of people. I mean, it's
That's
like
fantastic, though. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's a great learning curve too, but it's got to be daunting. I can't even fathom kind of like you're training and now suddenly it's like now I got to perform. But that's
I think it's amazing. The teenagers that carry these roles are outstanding. Just and getting to work with them and kind of help them over, the hump of getting, stage jitters is wonderful. But they're so eager and hardworking and dedicated, and they make it easy.
yeah.
That was,
Did you ever get stage jitters when you performed?
I did. And now I get stage excited because I don't get to perform anymore. I think I still yearn for the spotlight. So anytime I have an opportunity, I still get excited.
Yeah. I was talking to someone the other day who was dancing, and I'm like, "Oh, you get nervous when you perform?" He's like, "No." I'm like, "No." He goes, "Nah." He goes, for me, it's fun. I do it all the time.
Yeah.
I'm like, "But still," I'm like, "You gonna get a little bit nervous?" He goes, "No." So I was like, "Okay." I was just curious, kind of like some people, it's like, "Oh, they been doing it for 50 years, but I still get nervous." And other people are like, "Nah, it never bothered me in the beginning," so I wasn't sure.
Towards the end of my career, I felt I had moments where I wondered if maybe I was too comfortable on stage because I would be waiting backstage and check my phone. But now I think I would be really nervous if I had to step on stage again to perform. I haven't danced in a long time.
Yeah.
Well, I assume there's a lot of practice. So by the time you get to perform, I mean, it just becomes second nature. And I guess part of it is also because it's with music, again, you memorize that music and you just
Yes.
know, boom, I got to jump here, I got to do this here, and I got to do that, and then it's just like you just flow with that music.
It does put you in a flow state. And I think even when I see the youngest dancers, the littlest ones, when they hear their music backstage, you can see something shift. Like, okay, this is what I've been practicing. I'm ready for this. And the music is a really big piece of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always feel like whenever you're kind of performing in front of people, it's like the first kind of few minutes are like the worst. Like the anticipation, and then when you first get on the stage. But once you kind of get into the flow of it, I just feel like your brain stops thinking, "Oh my gosh, I'm performing." Now you're just kind of in the mode of basically just kind of doing everything, and then you don't even realize that it's over till it's like, your cue goes, and then you leave the stage. You're like, "Oh wow, I did it."
That's so
You
true.
know?
That's a really, really accurate assessment. Yes, the anticipation is the worst part.
It really is, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, a few times I've had to do like a public speaking and stuff. It's always that you're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm not gonna be able to do it, this and that." And then you go on stage, you're nervous, you start talking, and then the minute you just keep talking, you're not even thinking about the fact that you're in front of a bunch of people, and then you end, and you're like, "I made it through. I'm alive."
I made it.
Oh man! But so before I let you go, where can people find you? I know you're located in Crozet. If people are interested, kind of like in classes, where can they go to kind of like sign up for that?
So our studios are located in downtown Crozet. We're located in the old Fruit Growers Complex, which is the top floor above Crozet Pizza.
Oh, I know exactly what that is.
I know,
I pass it all the time now.
when you go
'cause
visit,
my oldest son.
Lives basically
Lives-
almost like right around the
like
corner
right
from
around-
there.
yeah.
Where those
And-
Stanley Martin homes are
So
now.
I take that
Exactly.
3-notch road, and I get to that corner where there's a stop sign,
Yep,
and
we're
on
right
the
on
right, I
3-notch
always see
road.
that.
Yeah.
There you
That's
are. So
us,
that's
yeah.
where you are.
I see them all
Okay.
the time, man.
Yeah.
I
I didn't realize that's. I didn't make the connection that that's where you guys were. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, now every time you pass by, you have to wave.
I will. Absolutely. Might even stop by and say, "Let's see what."
Well, go ahead and come watch a class.
You guys signed up for class?
I don't think so. You don't want me. You don't want me in leotards. That's for sure.
And if the online classes, where can people kind of like, kind of sign up online? Is it like a website?
Yes, you can visit our website. And we work through an online platform called Jackrabbit where we have registration.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Veronica, thank you so much
Well,
for
thank
coming
you so
on.
much.
It's been a
Keep up the
pleasure.
good work.
Thank you so
Yes.
much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much. You have a good one.
You too. Thanks.
I love
All right, so-
ballet. I mean, I think we've talked about it before. I mean, one of the things about ballet is that, first of all, I love classical music, and so that music is so melodic because it has to be danced with, and then to watch the dancers do things that I just sometimes I say, how did they do
Yeah.
that? The way they jump, and then they, like I said, do the pirouettes. And
Yeah,
do
the
it.
little the twinkling
The
toes.
twinkling, yeah.
It's very impressive.
And then when they go they turn. It's like
I
I'd be
know.
dizzy by the time to do the second
know.
turn. It's
I know.
great.
It's always impressive. I mean, we've been lucky to see Swan Lake and the Nutcracker, and I mean,
Yeah.
both times we were all,
Yeah.
and it really helps too. I'm not gonna lie. As a music person, you get Tchaikovsky going there. It's like the themes are just like
Absolutely, yeah.
famous,
Yeah.
and you could hum them off the top of your head. So it's kind of like you're hearing the great music, and now you're kind of getting a visual performance with
Yeah.
already the musical performance,
Yeah.
and it's absolute pleasure.
Yeah,
So
yeah. No, and the Nutcracker in December is a great one to see.
Yeah,
really,
absolutely,
It puts you in
yeah.
the mood. There's something about it that right away puts you in the mood.
Yeah,
of
it really
Christmas,
is. Yeah, there's
right?
something. Yeah, there is.
I don't know
true.
what
Like,
it is,
something
but
about
I
like
mean,
ballet during like a Christmas time feels like
Yeah.
right. It's like
Exactly.
hot cocoa, like drinking hot cocoa when it's snowing. Like this
Well,
feels
I
like
can drink hot cocoa in the summer, but it's true.
yeah. But anyway. So we're from one great guest to another. Now
Absolutely.
we're excited to be joined by Matthias Young. Matthias, thank you so much for coming
He's got
on.
charts and everything.
I know, he's got papers
I'm going
and
to be
everything.
confused
I
in
know,
10
I know.
seconds here. Look at all this.
Well, thanks so much for having me again, even though I'm bringing all those charts and graphs and data to go over.
Yeah. I thought that was homework for Xavier. I was like,
The first half of the show was fun. We listened and learned about ballet, and now we're looking at numbers.
Numbers, there you are. Yeah.
now we're looking at houses. So
Why
I know
why
there
are we
was.
doing this, huh?
Well, listen, it's important. You gotta live somewhere, right? So I mean, you don't want to be on the street. So you gotta find a home.
There's a good point.
It's funny. I was sitting the other side of the room listening to Veronica go over the ballet, and then I slowly realized she is the daughter of my daughter's godmother. So I actually know her mom, and just made me realize again we live in a tiny world sometimes.
Yeah. It's amazing sometimes how you meet people and then that person knows somebody else as well. I know that person really well, and it's just, it really is first of all, it's a small world sometimes when you think about it. But when it comes to the community, sometimes it's incredible how it's like you meet somebody. I mean, even yesterday we went to a luncheon, and I'm looking at this lady. She's looking at me, and I'm saying, I know this lady. I just can't remember her name. Who is she? And then she goes, you look familiar. I said, yeah, you look familiar too. Before we started chatting. Oh yeah, how you doing? So it's incredible. You meet people, you know people. It's great though.
It's been 10 years now that I moved to Charlottesville from Germany. And so I wonder, am I now entitled to call myself a local? After 10 years?
The minute you move here, you can say, so, well, why not?
Because I'm among those that now claim that there are so many people that constantly move here, right? Well, that's what I did 10 years ago. But if you ignore my accent, you might as well think that I belong here.
You have to admit, though, considering you moved here, did you live in the States at any other time?
No. Straight from Munich to Charlottesville.
It is, and I'm not saying this just because you're here, but it's unbelievable how well you speak English, considering you've only been here 10 years. I mean, I know people that have been here all their lives and can't speak as well as you do, No, really, it's the truth. I mean, it's just amazing, So I don't know.
Thanks.
Whether you learned English in Germany from a really good teacher, and you were a good student, but boy, you have.
Matthias looks like he would have been a really good student. You have that studious kind of like nature to yourself, You look like you would get like all A's.
So look
I'm
at all
not sure if that's a compliment from you, Mike.
No, it is. It's an absolute compliment.
Take it. He doesn't give too many. Take it as the case.
I had good school years and bad school years, but you're right, Xavier. We learn English at an early age in Germany, all over Europe actually. But I also grew up in close to Australia, so I went to Australian International School when I was younger. That probably helped me with my vocabulary a little bit.
Yeah.
But,
I take my hat off to you.
Thank you.
I mean, there's no question that we can speak to you in our language here, well, his language here, and not have any issues whatsoever. You just you respond, and like I said, there's people here that lived longer than you, and sometimes like they have no clue what you're saying. It's like, But anyway, we're here to talk about.
Well, here's what we are talking about, and Alex, who's not here today, he has been bugging me about this topic for a long time because, I'm here as a realtor and as a member of our Charlottesville community, and we always talk about how Charlottesville is relatively expensive compared to other areas in Virginia or in the country. At the same time, it is the city we love. It is the city that attracts so many people for various reasons, whether it is to retire here in the area or it is because UVA has a job opening. Whatever the motivation or intentions are, we have this steady stream of people moving here, right? And so we listen to this in the headlines all the time too, but just for our conversation here today, what does that mean for Charlottesville? What does it mean for the housing market, right? Let me ask you this. Do you know what the median sales price is for a home in Charlottesville or in Albemarle County, for example?
I'm going to guess, and because you asked the question under the assumption that things are expensive here, I'll say $550,000.
Oh man, that's what I was going to guess. I'll go higher. I'll go 600,000.
Yeah, it's not that high, but actually in Albemarle County, and that number is from last month, it's 527,000, right? And Judah, there's a nice graph if you want to put this on the screen for us. It's called Overview. Charlottesville is actually closer to your number. It's about 570,000.
Wow.
And in Albemarle County, 527,000. And I think that is interesting to talk about for a moment. I don't know how much you paid when you purchased your house in Ivy many years ago, right? But obviously there's a drastic increase year over year, and that has an impact on affordability. Most people that move here don't see the same increase in their salary, right?
Right.
So what do people do? Combined with the problem we have with a relatively low inventory, okay? And of course, we're all tired of talking about it, low inventory. That's a situation we face everywhere in the country. But just speaking about Charlottesville, do builders build new homes in the same capacity we need them? The answer is no, even though there are a lot of new developments, new neighborhoods forming. And so the question, the big question for all of us moving here is, where can we actually live? And as a result, people explore other solutions, right? We have suburban neighborhoods in Charlottesville. We always had them, but then we also have those bedroom communities that are either being formed or they existed for a long time.
Could you define for me bedroom communities? What does that mean?
Bedroom community is a community where people live, but the center of their life is not necessarily in that town or village, but they are commuters.
Okay.
And in our case, that would be, you work in Charlottesville, but you struggle to find a house here, either because it's unaffordable or because it's just, we don't have enough inventory. And so you decide for yourself what is the commute time I'm willing to drive every morning and every evening, and then you choose the area to live in. And those are bedroom communities.
Okay.
And it's not everyone's favorite term, because by saying bedroom community, you're implying that that area you live in, that city you live in, that town you live in, doesn't have its own identity, right? So you're merely there because you have your bedroom there. And obviously it's more complex than that. And so maybe that's the wrong term, really, because let's look at Waynesboro, for example. And I have a graph for that as well, Judah, if you get the chance to pull that up. I have this map that I brought that shows the greater Charlottesville area and where people live. We have bedroom communities, I guess you could call it such, in Zion Crossroads, Spring Creek, for example. A lot of people know that name. And that's a relatively new development and is still within driving distance for a lot of people that actually have a job in Charlottesville, right? So it still makes sense for them. You would not necessarily live in Richmond because there's a higher inventory, but work in Charlottesville. That wouldn't make that much sense. So you find out for yourself, what do you compromise on in terms of distance, right? Let me ask you.
Yes, that was actually going to be my question for you. Like, when you're selling houses and people come to you and say, I can't afford Charlottesville, but I'm willing to kind of go outside of Charlottesville, even though I work there. What's the distance that they feel comfortable kind of driving there? Because you could live in, for example, like you said, Zion's Crossroad. Okay, maybe, what is that, 25 minutes if you take the 64 to Charlottesville? But once you kind of start getting to maybe Waynesboro, get even closer between Waynesboro and Harrisonburg, now you're starting to get 30 minutes, maybe, 40 minutes. What's the extent that people are kind of willing to commute daily to kind of go to Charlottesville?
Right. Driving distance is one of the biggest factors. And that's true. And I ask that question when I work with clients that are looking for a house, let's say in Waynesboro or the other side of town, but actually are relying on coming every day to Charlottesville. And the sweet spot for most people seems to be 20 to 30 minutes. That's what they're willing to drive. And I think the conversation would be different if you lived in DC or if you had a job in DC and you end up spending maybe a total of 2 hours each day in the
Commute.
car because
Yeah. Because
the
with
traffic
traffic,
is
yeah.
congested and so on. But for our case, it really is 20 to 30 minutes. And so when I work with a buyer, and obviously I have my list of questions to go over, and that is always one of the most urgent questions. How far are you willing to drive each day? And, well, the good news is we have a lot of options within that 20 to 30 minute driving distance radius, right? And would you mind putting on that map so that we can look at that real quick?
Right. Well, you won't see it here. I think that
Oh, you
viewers see it,
won't
right?
see it there.
But yeah, I mean, so it's interesting because I mean, as I drive around, the one thing I realize is that there really truly is construction in quite a few number of places, and there are places where you can just see they're going to be building because it's been wiped, all the trees are gone, right? And what I notice is that what appears to be happening is that they're building townhouses, and then within the townhouses is also single-family homes, right? So it feels like they're building little communities, right? But as you mentioned, they're little communities, but other than, they'll have the, the little park and things of that sort where the kids can go play, et cetera. But in order to do your shopping or working, whatever, you need to get in the car and drive to Charlottesville or wherever else you may want to go. But because there's just nothing else. And I mean, I would say that this is probably one of the first times ever, maybe not totally ever, but one of the first times where we find ourselves in a situation where that people have really low mortgage rates are sitting there and saying, I'm not moving because, not because I wouldn't want to maybe get a bigger house or a nicer place, but I'm not going to get a 3% mortgage anymore. I'm getting a 7% mortgage, and therefore I can't afford anything that I really want, no matter how much my house went up. So you're stuck with no inventory for people selling unless they have to move out of state. And then you still have a lot of people moving in for the reasons you mentioned. You got UVA, you got a medical center. This is a beautiful place to live. I mean, you got the mountains right here, right? I mean, no matter which way you look, it's green, it's beautiful. So people want to move here, but there's no inventory. So I guess there's no choice but to begin to figure out what's the distance I'm willing to drive, to live in a place that is close enough to where I work.
And the good news is that the builders that we have in our area, they know about this, of course. And while the approval process with the counties is, a long process, I'm actually very interested in seeing the numbers and where exactly neighborhoods are being built right now. And so earlier this morning, I looked at our MLS, curious about the exact numbers and which area is actually the most interesting for builders and for people moving there. And just speaking about homes that were built between last year and this year, the numbers are very surprising. If you had to think about areas where you see developments popping up, new houses being built, what comes to your mind? Probably Crozet, right? The Old Trade development and all the others that are forming around Crozet. What else comes to mind?
Well, actually, close to Charlottesville. Well,
Yes.
you mentioned by Zions.
Up
Zions
29,
Crossroad,
up
yeah.
29,
Up
there's a
29,
lot.
yeah, there's North
the North
Point.
Point, exactly, yes.
But even going to Waynesboro, before you get to Waynesboro, if you look to the right,
Yeah.
they're building right there. It's like, you don't even have to get to Waynesboro. It's probably the very first exit in Waynesboro. There's already areas that you can see are being developed because the vicinity, right? It's
Right around the interstate.
exactly.
And I was shocked to see the numbers. So just new homes built last year and this year. You mentioned north of town. Yeah, we have 1,000 homes that are just in the general airport area, right? Obviously, it stretches up to Ruckersville and down to the Walmart area, but 1,000 homes were built there.
Wow.
Since last year. Crozet keeps building. It didn't stop with Old Trail, we all know, as you just said.
Right.
They keep building, so we have 500 more homes there. Waynesboro, the numbers are even higher, and I think we will see much more construction in the near future in Waynesboro along the 64 corridor, but also Fishersville, Stewart's Draft, over 500 homes in a year. And on the other side of town, we have the same trend towards Zion Crossroads, but also between there and Charlottesville. So there is demand for houses outside of the city, and they are being built, right? And that has an impact on median sales prices in those counties as well. You know, just because we acknowledge Charlottesville is very expensive, Albemarle County is very expensive. The rise of people moving to Nelson County, to Waynesboro, to Louisa County obviously has an impact there as well. So we see numbers coming up there too. And it's very interesting to explore that, because we always talk about Charlottesville, and sure, we're sitting here in the office of the I Love CVille network, but I think it should be part of the conversation when we talk about what attracts us about Charlottesville. It's really the general area, right? And technically speaking, Nelson County is not Charlottesville, but for me, it's part of the conversation, right? And when I explain to my parents in Germany, for example, that I live in Charlottesville, but actually I live outside of Charlottesville, I don't specify exactly where that is, right? So, yeah, so living and enjoying Charlottesville and working in Charlottesville means for a lot of people actually that they live in Waynesboro or in Zion Crossroads or in Scottsville or up in Ruckersville, right? I think two of your brothers, well, you only have two more brothers, but both of them last year moved to Crozet,
Yes,
right?
they're both in Crozet now.
So they and their partners, they went through the same thought process. What am I getting in Crozet compared to Charlottesville? And how far am I willing to travel? You know, what are the compromises? What are the sacrifices? And what do I gain? And the answer, and I've spoken to them, so I noticed happens to be true, is they can get a yard in Crozet, and that's less affordable in Charlottesville for them, right?
Nice. That was actually one of Alex, when he was looking for a house, one of the issues that actually he found in Charlottesville was, besides other the prices, like you kind of look at the houses, and it's like the only ones that seem to be affordable, like Matthias is saying, have no backyard, they have no front yard. You're kind of like house on top of house kind of thing. So it was kind of like, if you want a little more space, you know, even within like the city limits, you kind of have to kind of go outside, because it's like, I don't want to kind of open the door and then shake my hands with my neighbor kind of feeling.
Yeah.
You know, so if you want more space, you kind of have to kind of explore. And I did want to ask you a question. You talk about all these different places where like these houses are coming up outside of Charlottesville. Do you find younger people moving out there? Is it kind of like younger couples, middle-aged couples, older couples? Who do you kind of see kind of starting to go to the outskirts of Charlottesville?
Well, the majority moving to those outskirts, as you call them, or we can call them suburban areas, bedroom communities, are typically younger people. There are exceptions. I'm selling a house in Waynesboro right now, and the buyers are moving here from New Jersey, and they're in their 60s, right? But that's not the...
That's very young, yeah.
That is not the average buyer of a house in Waynesboro right now, right? So they're younger folks. And in that context, what I found interesting, you know, our MLS provides all the data to really dive into that subject a little bit more. Judah, maybe you can show it on the screen as well. It's it's called the Affordability Challenge for Gen Z and Millennials. And what I found interesting in that context is the annual household income for someone living in Charlottesville is, well, you are finance guys. What do you think it is?
Ask him. Don't put me in the spot.
No. That's your expertise.
The annual income of Gen Zs and millennials in Charlottesville?
Yes.
What maybe 55,000 a year?
Yeah, that's probably the individual income, higher than that, but still, I'm referring to the annual household income. And Charlottesville is on second place, Virginia-wide, obviously after Northern Virginia, but it's 150,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right? And so if that is the annual household income, does that mean for this household that they can afford a house in Charlottesville with all the features and specifications that they want? Nice yard, 3 bedrooms, a basement to have a home theater. Those are just examples, but does that translate into that reality of being able to afford it in Charlottesville? And the answer for a lot of those within that threshold is no. That's just the truth. Charlottesville is very popular, and houses are in demand, and as a result, the prices are different. And so people in that age group, in that age bracket, explore other options. And my young family is one of them. We currently don't live in Charlottesville. Would we like to live here? Yes, definitely, because my office is here in Charlottesville. Right. But I'm not able to afford the same size of yard compared to outside of Charlottesville. That's just a reality. I'm not complaining about this, but I think as we hear other people complaining about affordable housing in Charlottesville, and a lot is being done on that front, there are opportunities for all of us to live in the general area and still get to enjoy Charlottesville and the downtown mall and everything that we love about it.
Right.
Right.
These topics are always challenges, right? Because, like I mentioned before, when you have the university, you have 2 major hospitals here, right? Mm-hmm. The salaries of doctors and even some nurses and technicians and computer people, they're on the high side, right? And people that are moving here, right, are moving here because, they're even moving from Northern California or sometimes from New York, New Jersey, where they can find themselves in a situation where I can either work from home, right, or I can start my own shop, and their salaries are already high. So what they're coming here, and they're just lifting those prices of these homes around the areas up. And there's really, again, it's supply and demand. There's only the supply, the demand is here. The people that are coming here have jobs that have good salaries. So there's nothing you can do about that, right? I mean, that's just the way it is. So for everybody else, you now have to, and you mentioned locals. For locals, sometimes it's like, I can't even afford to live where I grew up. I need to move away. But that's happened everywhere. I mean, that happened in New York. I mean, you look at Queens, you look at Brooklyn. There's a lot of people from Queens and Brooklyn that, they grew up there and they look at their parents' houses. I can't afford this house. I need to move. And they went to Staten Island. Then they went to New Jersey. And then they go on further to Pennsylvania. It's just a transition. It's just what happens over time. And, it's difficult, but that's why there's buildings, that's why you have construction in the outer limits of Charlottesville, because it's where the builders can afford to build, right? Well, first of all, there's not enough land around here probably, right? But that's where the builders can afford to build housing in such a way that those people can now afford them,
It reminds me of this friend that I have who lives in Texas, who's been complaining about the Californians to me. There's a steady stream of Californians, leaving California for various reasons, whatever their motivation might be. And the number one state right now for them is Texas. And the reality is that home prices in California are such that, a regular middle-class house might sell for $1 million or $1.5 million, and they take that money and purchase $1 million house in Texas, even though they are, considered middle class. And so that has an impact on those that already live there. And Virginia, fortunately, is more balanced. Sure, we do have the occasional family moving here from California, and they have a different buying power, if that makes sense. But I think we see here people moving from New York State because of the climate. The same reason for people from Florida, that just like the more balanced climate here. And whatever the reason is, it is across all demographics, and that makes it so interesting here. It's not one-sided, and I think if you walk the downtown mall, you notice that.
I just want to say that Nicholas said that he said, "Hey there, Matthias, good to see you." And Stephanie American Past, I guess. Stephanie from American Past, I guess, was
Commenting,
yeah. And I guess we also have El Jose, Ruby Ross, Natalie Papillon, Billy McKesney, all like the show. So
that's
just
great.
want to shout out to all those people.
Good to hear that we have.
Yeah, I never have
some
to do this because
listeners
usually
in the
Alex does.
I know.
All of a sudden
I usually don't have to
I
do
said,
this
Nicholas probably sent me some stuff.
That's why I just ignore him. I have him on block.
No, it's, I mean, as you mentioned, you have Texas is seeing that inflow from Californians, but Virginia, well, like I said, like you mentioned, Virginia has New Yorkers coming here, people from New Jersey coming here, Northern Virginians coming here, which basically are people from D.C. moved to Northern Virginia. Now they're moving down here. So again, it's it's one of the challenges of living in a beautiful place, and two, having the quality of healthcare. A lot of people like that. The idea that, hey, if I want to retire, where would I like to retire? And quality of healthcare is important to these people. So again, a lot of people want to retire here. So, this whole area is growing, and I really don't see it stopping.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sorry, I thought you were going to end your sentence in a different way. I thought you would say that the problem that we are facing is that we have to share it with all those people that come here.
Yeah, well, but listen, it's like you and I came from, remember, I lived in New York, went to California, came here, so, I'm in the same,
one of those people,
I'm one of those, so I can't poo-poo. It's like, why are they moving here, Although I have to admit, I always remember that people I always say, one of the reasons you move here is the quality of life, right? So I don't want Charlottesville to become New York City. I don't want a situation where it takes me, instead of, 15 minutes to get to downtown, it takes me 45 minutes because there's bumper-to-bumper traffic. I don't want that. I definitely don't want that. So, the idea of turning Charlottesville into kind of a New York-style, community, I wouldn't want that, because it's the reason people move here is the quality of life. So if you start saying,
So we have to maintain it.
Yeah, if you say, you take that house and build a 10-story building, the answer is no. I don't want that. I don't care about anything. We moved here for that reason. I don't want to convert this to something that I moved away from, and everybody here moved away from.
I think it's actually important, just hearing you talk about that we have to it's not just always about making Charlottesville bigger. It would be good if we also made kind of some of the surrounding areas kind of a little more, kind of attract other people as well, like Crozet. You kind of build up Crozet. They've tried to do that in Zion's Crossroad, where it's like, for young people living there, instead of always kind of being like, well, I have to go to Charlottesville for work, and if I actually want to do something, I got to go to Charlottesville. Now you're creating all this traffic constantly into Charlottesville. If you kind of build around those other communities, kind of either up north in, Ruckersville, or kind of in Zion's Crossroads, or maybe in Crozet, now people kind of feel more dispersed, that you're like, okay, I don't have to always necessarily go to Charlottesville. In fact, some people might start having jobs in Crozet, or my job actually is in Zion's Crossroad, rather than everything just feel like it's coming in and out of Charlottesville.
Yeah.
And that reminds me again why the term bedroom community is really not appropriate in that context, because Ruckersville, Scottsville, Zion Crossroads, Waynesboro, they are proper cities themselves. So they have the healthcare over there, they have grocery stores and so on. So there is not, you don't live in Waynesboro and you drive to Charlottesville to buy groceries. No, so it is sustainable to live in those areas without needing to come here. And that's, I think, a great development that we also need to talk about when people want to move here. It doesn't mean that your quality of life immediately decreases because you can't live right on the downtown mall. No,
Right.
that's still, everything is within reach, and we also need to highlight the qualities that those surrounding communities, Ruckersville, Scottsville, Waynesboro, whatever that place is, what quality they have and what cultural offerings they have, what's the infrastructure like. And I have to say that all those places that we just mentioned are constantly improving
Right.
and building and creating more amenities. I'm not getting tired of speaking about Waynesboro because it has so much growth happening and so many great new amenities that the city government is creating, so that it's no longer, I have to live in Waynesboro because I can't afford Charlottesville or Ruckersville, whatever. No, it's actually, you can say, I live in Waynesboro and I love it here for reasons A, B, C, and my office is in Charlottesville, right? So
Right.
that's a shift, the way we talk about quality of life in our area. I find that remarkable.
And it'll happen. You see that. I mean, it's the chicken and the egg, right? So in other words, do you first build the infrastructure so that then people build homes and people go there, or in this case, there's no choice. You got to build the homes out there because there's no capacity here. And then once you build it there, then you'll see somebody just say, hey, you know what? There is no, Cuban restaurant or Mexican restaurant here or Italian or German, whatever. And so people then say, I'm going to put a restaurant here. So before you know, it's like, well, I don't need to go downtown now to eat all the time. So yeah, I don't mind going to downtown once in a while, or I'm going to go see the game, or I'm going to go to the concert. But, on a normal basis, if I just want to go out to eat, now I have a place here in Ruckersville or wherever it may be. And so the infrastructure then begins to grow because there's enough people. It's like, yeah, I can build this business here based on how many people live around the area, and that's, I'm sure that's what's going to happen, because even you look at Crozet, it's like it's overgrown, and there really isn't. I don't live there, so maybe I'm speaking out of term because I don't live there, but every time I go there really aren't that many places to go out and eat in Crozet yet, right? And I'm sure that's going to begin to grow also, right?
Right. People, restaurants, businesses see the demand
Yeah.
and will start to cater to those needs.
Exactly.
Speaking of which, why is it that we still don't have a German restaurant in Charlottesville?
That's a good question.
There's one in the mountains. There's one in Madison too.
That's right.
Not
yeah.
one here in Charlottesville.
I don't know.
So-
Well, that's up
Matthias,
to
that's
you.
your department. Yeah,
you got to find that right chef so
Yeah.
that we can open one up.
Yeah, we were so happy when Guajiros finally came. We were finally a Cuban place, because for so long we were like, there's no Cuban restaurant. I found it Guajiros came, so now we felt like we were heard.
That's right.
Our cries were heard. Our prayers answered. So that's on you, Matthias.
Is there one in Waynesboro?
No, there's one in Stanton or outside of
Okay.
Stanton called Edelweiss. But
What's it called?
Edelweiss.
Edelweiss. Okay.
And then you have the Bavarian chef up in
Right,
Madison.
that one I'm
But
familiar with.
here in Charlottesville proper, no German
That's true.
restaurant. It's a food desert, don't you think?
You're going hungry. You're like, I got nowhere to eat.
The reality is German cuisine is not that special. So.
No, it is. We love
Yes.
it.
When we went to Austria, I don't know the difference between German and Austrian cuisine, but man, it was delicious. And
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. Who's gonna complain about sausage and potatoes? I'm not. Wiener Schnitzel. Sheesh. I'll eat that stuff every night. So.
Well, when you like food, yeah, it's the variety that I enjoy, the ability to eat, whether it be Mexican, Italian, German, Spanish, Thai. It's just, it's the options that one, if you enjoy food, to say, hey, I'm going to try this now, So yeah, we need a German one here.
Yeah, well, we got to take it up with Charlottesville Council. I guess I don't know.
We need some entrepreneur to say, yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, is it difficult cooking German food, Matthias, or is it?
Well, it's very heavy, savory food, right? And you were just joking about sausage and potatoes, but the reality is that those are staples of German cuisine.
Yeah.
Right? It's difficult to cook. It's not as it's not fine dining necessarily like Italian or French cuisine, so I wouldn't compare that. And that's why we Germans joke, give me a sausage and a potato. That I don't have the need for a restaurant. That's all that is. But it's more nuanced, of course. And to be fair, we have everything here in Charlottesville. I don't crave any European food because we have all those restaurants that cover those needs here, except maybe a German bakery. Every now and then I think about that, but everything else I can find here.
Well, listen, I mean, on our side, man, I'd love for a really good Italian bakery here. I mean, no one does cannolis or what are the ones that I love? There's like a donut. Well, I love sfogliatellas, but the ones that's like a donut with the cannoli cream. Do you know which one that is?
The Sfinche.
Sfinche, yeah.
San Giuseppe.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like nobody does.
I think you have some vendors on the farmers markets that have Italian pastry and baked goods.
I need to check that out.
By the way, in Stanton, there's his name is Giancarlo. He's Swiss Italian, I think, and he has his little bakery
in Stanton,
in his backyard.
In the main drag, or
no, in a residential neighborhood.
Oh, residential. Okay.
But he has fantastic pastries there.
Ah.
He was trained in Austria or in Switzerland, I believe, and he has Italian pastries, German. So it's a destination. You should go.
Yeah. So after the show, make sure you stay and give us his
for bakery. I'll take a drive to Stanton anytime for
forget
a sweet.
I know.
Are you kidding me?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that I will say, that it's like when you compare American food can, like, when they try European style of food in America, like, they can capture some of it, but the baking in Europe is still, to me, leagues ahead over American baking. When it comes to pastries. Sorry.
I noticed that our topics today are housing and food. Right? The two essentials.
Absolutely. It is. Yeah. Yeah. A roof over your head and food on the table, and everybody's happy. Well, they should be, at least.
I think that's a beautiful sentence to end this topic for today.
Thank you. Finally.
Well, Matthias, thank you so much.
It's been great. Thanks for coming by.
Yes.
Always fun talking, catching up with you, and discussing real estate, which is a very important topic. It really is.
Yeah. And just kind of getting the trends of what's going on in the shows. Yeah. You're always you're always on the ball, Matthias. You ever feel that way?
I know, it's true. Yeah. He knows what's going on.
Thanks so much for having me. No, it's obviously a passion of mine. I do it for a living, but I don't get tired talking about it. And also to mention again and again that we have a lot of great places outside of Charlottesville where people can find a house and a nice community actually to live in. Still close enough to town.
They certainly are. Yeah. And knock on wood, it's like 20, 30 minutes around here is not bad.
Yes.
Easy driving.
Easy driving. Not traffic, so it's less frustrating.
And beautiful driving. That's right. Yes. No matter which way you look, you're looking at trees, mountains.
Well, I mean, compared to what you used to have to do, you lived in Brooklyn and had to go to the city. How long did it take you for that commute?
So a typical 20-minute drive, in other words, with no traffic, it was 20 minutes. It took me about an hour for me to drive. It took the bus about an hour and a half.
There you go. So, and that's not a fun drive either. It's people honking on you, giving you the finger, cutting you off,
Ugly buildings, potholes everywhere.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was not.
Construction.
F-bombs
Oh
because
yeah, oh
you're in
easy,
New York.
yeah.
There were construction, but the workers were just sitting there. Nothing was getting done.
Exactly.
They're still working on the BQE. They still haven't finished it. What's going on?
I mean, yeah, I hear that joke a lot about New York State construction workers, right? There's 15 in a group and one is working.
Exactly.
That's all.
Exactly.
What's that joke?
The other
15
and the other
watching.
15 have little notebooks.
Well, I mean, Matthias, there used to be a road that when my grandmother and Pops' mom lived in Queens, we used to take something called the BQE, which is like the Brooklyn
The
Queens Express.
Gowanus, or the Gowanus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like basically to get to her house, right? And for years, it felt like it used to be like 2 lanes, but it became like 1 lane. Or it used to be 3 and became 2 because
Yeah.
they were doing construction on this lane, right? It felt like that way for years.
Oh,
Then
was-
finally, the construction ended, and next thing you know, there's construction on another lane. So now you're still back to 2 lanes. It felt like it was never 3
Yeah,
lanes.
it never finished. Yeah,
They
In
never
one
finished.
side or the other, or there was always
Yeah,
something. Yeah,
there
it's
was
just-
always something on
yeah,
construction. It's just
It reminds me of the Belmont Bridge. Never mind, let's not talk about construction at all. Just a joke. All right,
Matthias,
guys, I'll
thank
see
you so much.
Thank you,
See
Matthias.
next
Thank you so
time.
much.
See you
Thanks
next
for always
time.
having
Looking
me on
forward
the
to it.
show.
Looked for, yeah, absolutely. Well, that was good.
Pops. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was good
interesting,
and very
yeah.
informative. And
Yeah.
you know, like Matthias said, there are lots of different places you could look. It probably feels daunting, I can imagine, to new, people looking for a home, kind of
Yeah.
coming to Charlottesville and being like, man, I can't afford this. Oh wow, this is kind of what I'm looking for. This is too small. I'm looking for something spacious. There are options outside
Yeah, there are.
of Charlottesville,
There are,
and
yeah.
there good options.
Beautiful
you know,
options.
so-
There are. Yeah, there are. Yeah.
You know, so at least there is that. You know,
Well, this is fun. This is
yeah,
good.
we're coming to the end of our show, Pops.
Yep.
Thanks for joining me.
Well, thank you for hosting there.
Oh,
Like I
no,
said
it's
before,
my
it was
pleasure,
it's
yeah.
a privilege to be with you.
Oh, well, same here, same here. I imagine next week Alex is going to be back. You
I
know.
think so, from what I understand.
Yeah, so I don't have to host. But next week, we do have a couple of special guests. So we got Ricardo Cruz Durant
yeah.
coming back from Total Mortgage. He's always an amigo del programa,
Absolutely.
as Alex likes to say. And then we also got Seth from Seth B Woodworks.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes, I think he's a
Terrific.
young entrepreneur who does, I think, wood carving. I think that's
Okay.
what Nick told me. But yeah, it should be a good show. Kind of a nice little kind
It'll
of.
be interesting because I think Ricardo is now in Harrisonburg,
Yes,
right? Even
yes,
though he works
he's
in
Harrisonburg.
Charlottesville.
I think
So it'd
Total
be
Mortgage
nice.
had like kind of the grand opening
Yeah,
a month
exactly,
back or something
exactly,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
So and he's a great guy.
He really is. Yeah,
You
I'm
know,
looking
so,
forward
yeah.
to seeing him.
You know, we kind of miss him that he's not in Charlottesville anymore. He's kind of went to Harrisonburg.
Well, he said
but-
he works a lot here, so
Yeah,
we'll just
I
have to
know.
corral him more often.
Exactly, yeah. But I mean, Harrisonburg's another place that you
Yeah,
know
it's
it's
growing.
starting to grow.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and I think isn't that kind of close to where JMU is?
It's right. Yeah, that's what JMU is.
You know,
yeah,
so I
that's part
think
of
it's
it.
a nice little area. So at
Yeah.
least now this kind of that little kind of okay, you have Charlottesville's real nice, but now Harrisonburg's kind of growing
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
You know, so maybe in the middle between there, you know, and like Matisse said, Waynesboro, the Stantons, you could probably start seeing them pick up.
Yeah,
I imagine.
yeah, no doubt
You
about
know.
it.
But to kind of close out the show, as always, we're happy to be presented by Emergent Financial Services, sponsored by Matthias from Matthias Young Realty, Craddock Serious Insurance, Charlottesville Opera, Forward Adelante Faba, you know, the premier Latino business and networking group here in Charlottesville. I'm Michael. That was Xavier, and as always. Thank you. Oh, wait, really, I forgot to say thank you. So I got
Judah,
thank
you gotta thank
I gotta
Judah.
Thank
I
you
love
so much
Seville.
to Judah for, you know, doing the graphs and like Alex says, making us look good. Thank you for Jerry for having us at the I Love Seville. I can't forget Liza. Thank you for Liza being our biggest supporter. You know,
Biggest fan.
she's the happiest one when Xavier and I come into the office. I'll tell you that much. And thank you also to our wonderful viewers who kind of made this possible. I know we had a lot of people watching today. Forgive us, Xavier and I are not tech savvy yet. I don't even have a Facebook. He has one, but he probably doesn't even know how to log in. So looking at the comments and seeing her view, and it's kind of difficult,
Yeah,
but we see you, you know, and we thank you. And as always, we look forward to next week. But as always, hasta mañana.